We begin the Gemara today on Davav Amud Beis, where it begins on the beginning of the line, Amar Rav Huna. It's more than halfway down the Amud. Amar Rav Huna Amar Rav, Beya im yitziyasa nigmera. An egg, when it comes out from the chicken, it's completed, it's done, it's ready. So what does this mean? What was Rav trying to say with this statement? There's going to be a few different interpretations what Rav meant. So the Gemara first tries one pshat. What did he mean to say when the egg comes out, it's completed? If you're going to say that he meant as follows, that when the egg comes out from the chicken, then it's completed, and therefore it's not anymore part of the meat of the chicken itself, and therefore now you can eat the egg together with milk. But and therefore what he meant to say is, when it's still in the body of the chicken, it's going to be forbidden to eat it with milk, because then it's considered to be like part of the meat of the chicken itself. But could that be true? Tanya, we learned in a Beitza, a person that shechs a chicken and he finds inside the eggs that are gemurais, that are completed. There's a machlokes here exactly what gemurais means. Rashi here says that gemurais does not mean that you find full eggs with the shells. Rashi says you find the yellow, chelmain, just the yellow of the egg. That the yellow is completed. That's already considered to be gemurais. Other Rishonim say that it means with the white as well. Others say it even means with the shell. Either way, so there's a few different shatim of this. So in this Beitza it says that if you find those beitzim gemurais inside the chicken, so mutares lachlam b'chalav, you're allowed to eat it with milk. It's not considered to be like the meat of the chicken itself. So how could we say that Rav was saying only when it comes out is the egg completed? Ella, so therefore we have to change what Rav was speaking about. He was referring to an egg that's being born from the chicken in relevance to yomtov. Ella, what he was saying was, im yitziyasa nigmera umuteres lachle b'yomtov. That only if the egg came out of the chicken before yomtov, so then it'll be allowed to eat it on yomtov. Habimei ima, but if the egg is still in the mother's inside the chicken, then asura lachle b'yomtov. Then it'll be asur to eat it on yomtov, even though let's say it was born right on yomtov itself, and seemingly this chicken was already, the egg was totally completed. It doesn't matter. If it was born on yomtov, so then it comes out that the egg was not fully completed. So Rashi says the issue is that yomtov itself, the time on yomtov itself, is completing this chicken. So that's the issue that we had before in Dav Beis, hachana derabah, that the yomtov itself is preparing this chicken. It's not prepared from before yomtov. That's what Rav was saying over here. But could that be true? But Vatanya, but we learned in a Beitza, sheichet es atarne geiles, umatza ba beitzim gemurais. If someone shechts a chicken on yomtov and he finds in it finished eggs, mutares lachlam b'yomtov. You're allowed to eat them on yomtov. So what do you see over here in this Beitza? That even though it did not come out of the chicken yet, you found it inside the chicken, so you can argue and say that on yomtov itself it was completing, it was finishing. But nevertheless, you can eat it. Not like Rav said. If you're going to say, Kamash Malon beBreise, this Breise is teaching me something, something that we did not learn in the Mishnah. In other words, the Gemara is saying that maybe in our Mishnah, in the beginning of the Perek, what did we learn? That only an egg that's born on yomtov is asur. In this Breise, it's saying that if you find the eggs inside the chicken, so then it's allowed to be eaten. So maybe the Tana of our Mishnah disagrees with this, because it wasn't mentioned by the Tana of our Mishnah. So the Gemara, but Hanami Tanina, we could also see from what we learned in the Mishnah that what it says in this Beitza is true. Because what did it say in our Mishnah? An egg that's born on yomtov, Beis Shamai imrim teichal. Beis Shamai say you can eat it. Beis Hillel imrim lo teichal. Beis Hillel say you can't eat it. That's our Mishnah, right? Now va'at kan le pligi Beis Shamai Beis Hillel. Regarding what case were they arguing here? Ela benilda. They're arguing regarding an egg that's born on yomtov. Avo bimei iman. So from this we could be medayik. An egg that's found inside the stomach of the mother after you shechted the egg, after you shechted the chicken, that is, divrei hakoil sharian. Everybody would agree that the egg is mutter to eat. That's what it's mashmer. So you see that the point that it says in this Beitza, although it doesn't say it clearly in our Mishnah, But nevertheless, you could be medayik from the Mishnah that they're only arguing regarding a Beis Shamai. But regarding an egg that was found inside the mother's stomach, that everybody would agree that it's mutter to eat on yomtov, like it says in the Beitza. One second, the Gemara is going to explain. Now, if you're going to argue and say, Beis Hillel, afilu bimei iman nami asri, that when Beis Hillel said that an egg that's born on yomtov is aser, Beis Hillel was saying this not only regarding an egg that was born on yomtov, Beis Hillel was saying this even regarding an egg that's found in the mother's stomach. It's also aser then. Why does it say in the Mishnah, the case of Nelda, that if it's Nelda, if it's born, then Beis Hillel said it's aser? It's coming to let you know how far Beis Shamai's opinion goes. That even Neilad, which means that it's something that's born, so there's an aspect of muktzeh, there's more of a reason to aser it, because it's a new mitzias that's born. Nevertheless, Beis Shamai still says that you're allowed to eat it. So in other words, maybe in our Mishnah, when Beis Hillel said that it's aser, maybe Beis Hillel meant to say not only an egg that's born on yomtov, maybe even an egg that's found in the mother's stomach is also aser. And Beis Shamai holds that in both cases it would be mutter. Maybe that's the pshat in the machlokes in our Mishnah. So therefore, our Mishnah maybe disagrees with the Beitza that says that the egg that's found in the mother's stomach, it would be mutter. So the Gemara says that can't be, because if so, Ela Hadatanya. So this Beitza that we just quoted before, Hasheichet es atarnagolos umatzaba beitzim gemurais. If you shech the chicken and you find the eggs inside, mutarais laachlam biyomtiv. So the Beitza said that you're allowed to eat it on yomtiv. Mani, according to whose opinion is this Beitza going to be? Loi Beis Shamai. It's not according to Beis Shamai, because according to Beis Shamai, there's no reason to be speaking about the chicken that has the eggs inside. Beis Shamai holds a bigger chiddush. Even if it's born on the yomtiv, it's still going to be mutter. So this Beitza that speaks about the eggs inside the chicken is not going to be Beis Shamai. And v'loi Beis Hillel. And it's not going to be Beis Hillel either, because Beis Hillel says that it's aser. And you're saying that Beis Hillel, when he said that it's aser, he means both the egg that's born on yomtiv and also the egg that's found inside the chicken. So this Beitza that says that the egg that's found inside the chicken would be mutter, according to who is it? Ella, so therefore we have to say im yitziyasa. So the Gemara goes back now to the statement that Rav said, because we proved over here from this Beitza that eggs found inside a chicken on yomtiv, that you shechter on yomtiv, are mutter. So what did Rav mean when he said that eggs im yitziyasa nigmara? What was he talking about? So the Gemara now brings a different shot, which is totally not connected to yomtiv at all. Ella, what Rav was saying was im yitziyasa nigmara, an egg that came out of the chicken, so the egg is completed, and then umegadelas afreichim. And this egg, if you leave it and the chicken warms up this egg, eventually it will hatch, and you'll have the chicks that will come out of it. Bimei ima, eggs that were found inside the mother's stomach, ein umegadelas afreichim. It's not going to be able to have chicks come out of it. That's a fact. Rav was telling you a fact of life. The chicks will not come out of eggs that were found inside the mother's stomach. Now, l'may nafka, so what was the halacha he was teaching with this? The difference is, what it's relevant for is regarding if you're selling eggs and someone tells you clearly, I want to buy eggs from you that will produce chicks, you can't sell them eggs that were found inside the mother's stomach. You have to give them eggs that were laid by the mother and you see the eggs came out. The Gemara brings an incident that happened. Kihahu da amaluhu, like a person that announced and said, Beyi the pachia man, who has to sell Beyi the pachia. Pachia refers to a live chicken that laid eggs. In other words, he was making it clear he wants to have eggs that came from a live chicken and not eggs that were found in a shechted chicken inside the stomach. So what happened? Yavule Beyi the shchuta. Someone went and sold him eggs that were from a shechted chicken. So he came to Rabami and said, look what happened. I said clearly I want to have eggs from a live chicken, and I got eggs from a shechted chicken. So Rabami paskin and said to them, Mekachtasu. It's a mekachtas. He asked for one thing and he got to something else. And v'hadar, and therefore the sale goes back. Sagt the Gemara, Pshita, this halacha that Rabami paskin, this is obvious. What was the chiddush of what Rabami was saying? Why did they have to go and ask a shaila by Rabami? Of course he asked for one item, and he got a completely different item. So the Gemara explains, no, there's a chiddush here, because Mao de Teime, I would think to say that Hai la achila kaboy, that really this person, when he says he wanted the chickens, he wanted to have the eggs from a live chicken, it's not because he wanted the chicks. He wanted to eat it. The only reason he said he wants it from a live chicken that laid these eggs, because it's more done. The eggs that actually come out of a chicken, that are laid by a chicken, the eggs are better, they're geschmacker, they have a better taste, they're more done. Whereas the eggs that are found inside of the chicken don't have such a good of a taste. And therefore, I would think as follows, L'may nafkemina. What's the difference if you gave him the eggs that he asked for or the eggs that he did not ask for? L'meis falei beini beini. You have to reimburse him. You gave him eggs that he wanted. In other words, he wanted eggs to eat, and you gave him eggs to eat. Elamai, you didn't give him those eggs that have the best taste that he wanted. So you have to reimburse him the difference of that price. So therefore, Kamash Malon, Rab Ami came and said that no, he's telling you that it's a mekach tos, it's a totally different item. It's not an item that he wanted. He wanted it for the chicks. He didn't want it for eating b'chlal. So the chiddush that Rav Ami was saying is that a person that says, I want eggs from a live chicken, we know that means he doesn't want it to eat. He wants those eggs in order to have the chicks that come out of it. So the Rishonim discuss what it says here in the Gemara because it's a little bit difficult to understand what it's saying here. My nafkemina, if he wanted it to eat, or he wanted it for the chicks. Either way, the bottom line is he made clear what he wanted. He said, I want to have eggs from live chicken. So you gave him a different item, so you didn't give him the right thing. So the Gemara is saying maybe he wanted it to eat and it wasn't so geschmack for him, so it's not such a big difference. Or no, he wanted it for the chicks, so it's a totally different item. My nafkemina, even if it's not such a big difference, the fact is it's not what he said. So therefore the Rishonim say, the Ranir says, the main point is, benegei to the lekeach. Does the lekeach have the choice of saying that I want the sale to be, or does he have the choice to say that he wants to have charata? In other words, it's a davar apashut that it's a mekach tos, because it's not what he got. But how about if the lekeach says, you know what, it's taka mekach tos, but b'diavad I accept it, I'm ready to take it. So if he wanted it to eat, elamai, he didn't get the best of what he wanted, the sale will remain. But if he asked for the chicks, and he got instead eggs to eat, so then it's not even a choice of the lekeach, it's a completely different item. If the meicher comes along and says, oh, I gave you a different item, I want to have charata, it's not even in the control of the lekeach because it's mamish a different item. That's what the Gemara is saying here, according to the Ran. The Gemara brings a similar story. Ahud amalahu, there was a person that announced and said, Beyed de dichra laman, Beyed de dichra laman. Who has eggs that comes in a chicken from a rooster? So as we'll see here in the Gemara, there's two ways how a chicken could produce eggs, either from a rooster, from the relation with a rooster, or the egg sits in the ground and gets heated up, the body of the chicken gets heated up and it could produce eggs that way. It's two different types of eggs, they're not the same quality at all. So this person announced and said, I want to specifically have eggs that came from a rooster. So Yavule Beye, the Safne Ma'ara. Instead, they gave him eggs that came from a chicken that was heating itself up from sitting in the ground. They didn't come from a rooster. Asla Kameh de Rabami, so again he came to Rabami. Amaluhu, so Rabami Paskin, Mekach Tosu. So Mekach Tos, he didn't get what he wanted, Vahadar, and the sale goes back. Pshita, so it's obvious, it's not what he asked for. So again, the Gemara explains, Ma'od Taima, I would think to say, Hi la chilakaboy. This person, really, he wants it to eat. And therefore, the eggs that come from the rooster or the eggs that come from the ground, they both are edible. The only reason he said he wants the ones that come from a rooster, the eggs are more geschmack, they're fatter, they're better. But really, he wants it to eat. And therefore, the only difference would be whether you have to reimburse him the higher value that it has if he has the eggs that come from the rooster. Kamash Malam, therefore, if Ami Paskin, no, if he said he wants eggs from a rooster, the reason is because he wanted to have proper eggs that are going to produce a chick. The eggs that come from the chicken that get heated up from the ground will not produce any chicks. The Gemara now goes back to the statement of Rav Huna Marav that we had before. What did he say? Im yitziyasa nigmara. That the eggs get finished only when they come out of the body of the chicken. So the Gemara now is going to say another pshat, another two pshatim. If you want, I can tell you the pshat here is as follows. What did Rav mean to say? That when it comes out, it's completed. What he meant to say is, if most of the egg came out of the body of the chicken, it's considered to be that it's completed. So if most of it came out before yontif, it's already done. It was completed. Rav was telling you the same halacha of Rabbi Yochanan. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Beya sheyatza ruba me'erev yomtov, an egg that most of it came out of the body before yomtov and v'chazra, and then the egg went back into the body. Muteres lachla b'yomtov. You're allowed to eat it on yomtov because it's already born from before yomtov, even if it went back in. That's what Rav was teaching. Others say that Adarabba, Rav was actually coming to argue with Rabbi Yochanan. What was Rav saying when he said when it comes out, only then is it finished? Only if the egg comes out completely, then it's finished. Only if it fully comes out of the body of the chicken. But like Rabbi Yochanan said, if most of the egg came out, then it's not completed. If it went back into the body, not. And Rav is arguing, he came to exclude of what Rabbi Yochanan said. So in order for an egg to be mutter on Yontif, it had to be fully born before Yontif. Kufa, now the Gemara brings back a halacha that was mentioned before in the Gemara. If you shecht a chicken, and you find finished eggs in it, they're allowed to be eaten with the milk. In other words, it's not considered to be part of the chicken, the meat of the chicken, it's eggs. So you can eat it with milk. Rabbi Yaakov says, if it's still attached to the sinews of the chicken itself, so then asurais. Then it's not allowed because it's part of the body of the chicken. It's basar b'chalav. Man tanes, and now who's the tana of the following brayse? The tana rabbanon of this brayse that we learned, ha'oichel min nivlas oif toher, a person that eats from the body of an oif toher, which will make him tameh. If you eat from a oif, from the nevela of an oif toher, it wasn't shechted properly, so you become tameh. But the brayse here makes a distinction. It depends from which part of the chicken you ate. Min ha'shalal shel beitzim, if you ate from a cluster of eggs that was found inside the chicken. Min ha'atzamais, from bones, min ha'gidin, from sinews, min ha'basa shenitlash min ha'chai, or from any of the meat that was pulled off while it was still alive, toher. On that there is no tumah, and all of these things there's no tumah. From all of this you would be toher. Okay, that's one thing. Then it says min ha'eshkel shel beitzim. What's if you eat from eshkel shel beitzim, which refers to the place where the eggs are connected to. Not sure what the word for it in English is. You have the English word for that over there. Eshkel shel beitzim is like where the eggs are like kept in, like the place where it's connected to the body of the chicken. Min ha'korkavan ubnei mayin, or you ate from different parts of the stomach of the chicken. Oy shehimcha es ha'chele v'gamay, or you dissolved from the fats of the chicken and you swallowed it. Tameh. From all these things you'll be tameh. So the Braisa mentions in the first half shalol shel beitzim, right? That you found a cluster of eggs and you ate from those eggs, so you'd be tahir. In other words, it's not considered to be from the meat of the chicken, and therefore it's not metame a person. So the Gemara says, so man tane min ha'shal shel beitzim toir. Who's the tana that says that you eat of these cluster from eggs you'll be toir? Rabbi Yosef, the like Rabbi Yaakov. It's not like Rabbi Yaakov's opinion. The Rabbi Yaakov, if it would be Rabbi Yaakov ha'amar, but Rabbi Yaakov said, im hayu mu'uris begidin. If you find eggs that are there inside the chicken and it's connected to the chicken itself, asurais, it's going to be asur because of basar b'chalav, meaning it's part of the meat of the chicken. So if so, it should make you tameh as well. So this brayse that says that it does not make you tameh is not according to Rabbi Yaakov. Amalei Abaye, so Abaye answers and says, Mimai, how do you know this is not like Rabbi Yaakov? Dilme, maybe Atkan lekom Rabbi Yaakov hasam elolin nisura. Rabbi Yaakov was talking about the isser of basar b'chalav, that you're eating the milk together with these eggs. So for that, Rabbi Yaakov was machmer, and he said that you shouldn't eat it together with it. In other words, Rashi says over here that this whole thing that Rabbi Yaakov said, that if you find a cluster of eggs inside the chicken, you shouldn't eat it with milk, it was a chumrah midrabanan. Really, minatayre, it's not aser. Or b'chlal, I mean, this whole union of eating the basar of chicken with cholav is not minatayre. But this whole thing that you shouldn't eat the eggs is all gzeira midrabanan. And they were machmer for the isser of basar b'cholav. Aval inyan tumah. But when it comes to eating it and the fact that it makes you tameh, lie. Who says by tumah they were geyser? Just like they made the gzeira regarding eating it with milk that you shouldn't, we should make the same gzeira for tumah that you should become tameh. So no, Chachamim don't necessarily make such a gzeira because we have the following rule: afushe tumah hu. By adding this gzeira, you're adding more tumah. Va'afushi tumah midrabanan le'mafshinan. We're not looking to add and make more gezeiros to increase tumah. So Rashi here says, don't make the mistake and think that there's no such a thing of Chachamim ever making gezeiros for tumah. There are many different things that are tamim midrabanan. But nevertheless, you can't ask a question that because I find it's asur, so therefore it should be tumah as well. Because by tumah there is a concept that we try to minimize the gezeiros of tumah. Others, when they analyzed this Beitza, so they said as follows. Mantana, they focused on the Seifa of the Beitza. What did it say in the Seifa? Mantana, who's the Tana that said in the Seifa here? Mina eshkel shel beitzim tomi. That if you're eating from the eshkel of beitzim, which is not the cluster of the beitzim itself, but it's the parts. What's the word? The ovary of the eggs. So then it's going to be tomi. Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef said, Rav Yaakov, the reason why you're tameh is because this is Rav Yaakov's opinion. The Amar, Rav Yaakov said, that if you're eating the eggs that are still connected to the sinews, which seems to be similar to the ovary of the eggs, it would be also with the milk, and therefore it also makes you tameh. It's part of the body of the chicken. Abaye said, it's not the same thing. Memai, the eshkoil. How do you know that we're talking about someone that eats from the eshkoil? Mahanach the talya be'eshkoil. Again, let me read that again. Mimai the eshkoil. Mihanach the talya be'eshkoil. How do you know when the Beitza says eshkoil? It means from these eggs that are connected to the ovary, dilma eshkoil gufei. In the Beitza, when it says that you become tamei, he ate from the ovary itself, not from the eggs that are connected. So it's not the same thing that Rabbi Yaakov was talking about. Rabbi Yaakov was talking about the eggs that are connected to the sinews, that are connected to the ovary. On the other hand, the Beitza is talking about the sinews themselves. It's talking about the ovary itself that the eggs are in. So they're not talking about the same thing. So the Gemara says, if so, if the Beitza is saying that he ate from the ovary itself, what's the chiddush that it makes him tameh? That's mamish part of the body of the chicken. So the Gemara says, and the question is, midi dahave akorkevin ubnei mayin. So the answer is because it's similar to what the Beitza says if you ate from the intestines or the stomach of the chicken. The afagav the basanino, even though it's mamish part of the meat of the chicken, but the reason why the Beitza says it, kivin the ikke inshi de layachli, since this is something that many people don't eat this, it's not something which is has the taste to eat. So most people don't even eat this. So itzrich lashmina has to tell me that nevertheless it's edible, and therefore you become tameh if you eat it. So hachanami. So therefore, regarding this as well, kivin the ikke inshi de layachli. So this ovary of the eggs, there are people that don't want to eat this b'chlal. So therefore, itzrich lashmina. Therefore, it has to tell me that nevertheless you become tameh if you eat it. Taner Rabbanon, we learned in the Beitza as follows: Kol shetashmishay b'yayim, neiled b'yayim. Any species that the relations of the zachar and the nekeva are during the day, so then they give birth at daytime. Kol shetashmishay b'layla, if their relations are at nighttime, neiled b'layla, so then they give birth at night. Kol shetashmishay bein b'yayim, bein b'layla, and those that their relations are daytime or nighttime, so then nailad bein b'yayim bein b'layla, they give birth either by day or by night. And the Beitza spells out Kol shetashmishay b'yayim nailad b'yayim, the ones that have relations daytime, so they give birth dafke by day, zutan negailis, that's the chicken. Kol shetashmishay b'layla, the ones that have relations at night, nailad b'layla, they give birth only at night, zu atalif, this refers to a bat. Kol shetashmishay bein b'yayim bein b'layla, the ones that have relations day or night, Adam, a human being, and v'chol dadamile, and other species as well from the animals that have relations day and night. So the Gemara now is going to bring the nafkamina for this. Why are we bringing this up here, b'chlal? Amamar, so now the master said here in the Beitza, Kol shetashmishay b'yayim, neilad b'yayim. The ones that have relations by day, so it gives birth by day, dafke. And zutar negailis, this refers to the chicken. L'may nafkamina. For what is this? What relevance does this have lahalacha? So the answer is Likad Rav Mari Berei de Rav Kahana. It's the relevance for what he said. The Amar Rav Mari Berei de Rav Kahana. Badak bikina shaltar negailim me'erev yomtov. You went before yomtov and you inspected the chicken coop over there to see if there's any eggs. V'lei matzah beitzim. Beitza, you didn't find any eggs there. Ulamachar, the next morning, which is yomtov in the morning. Hishkim, you got up early in the morning before Alois HaShachar. Umatzah be'ya, and you found an egg there. So the question is, when was this egg born? Was this egg born sometime during the night? So it was born on yomtov, it's a Beis Shamai b'yomtov, or was it born from before yomtov? So muteres, it's going to be mutter. Why is it mutter? Because an egg is not going to be born by night. The nature of the chickens is because tashmishon is bayayim, they lay their eggs by day, so you know it was born before yomtov. Fragt the Gemara, but vale bodak, but he went and inspected the chicken coop and he didn't see any eggs there. Eime le bodak yafe yafe. You'll have to say that he didn't inspect it well enough, and therefore he didn't see the egg there. And then it adds even more. Vafile bodak yafe. And even if he did inspect it very well, Eimer, what I would say is yatsa saruba, that probably what happened is the egg mostly came out of the chicken's body, but then the chazra, and it went back in, and the chazra havoy, and it went back in. Like we mentioned before from Rabbi Yechanan, once most of the egg came out, so then it's born before yomtov. Frag the Gemara, Eini, is this true? But v'ha'amar Rabbi Yosi ben Shol Amar Rav, Badak bekina shatana geilis me'erev yomtiv. If you inspected the chicken coop before yomtiv, v'lei matzah ba'beya, you didn't find any egg there. Ulamacha hishkim, the next morning early before Aleis HaShacha you come there. Umatzah ba'beya, and you find an egg. Asura. It's aser. Why is it aser? Because it must have been born at night during yomtiv, because you inspected it before yomtiv. So you see that you can't rely on the fact that it's going to be born dafke by day. And for the Gemara, it's a different story. It's a different kind of an egg that he's speaking about over there. Hasam b'desafna me'ara. There it's talking about an egg that gives birth to a chicken from the heat, from the ground. It didn't give birth from a rooster that fertilized this chicken. So therefore, that kind of an egg could be born at night as well. The whole cloud that we said that it's only born by day is only an egg that came from a rooster. Fragt the Gemara, so if so, ihachi de Rav Mari nami, this statement of Rav Mari, that you could rely on the fact that it was born by day, why don't we say there as well, eime me'ara safna, maybe over there also, it got heated up from the ground, and therefore it gave birth to this egg at night. And for the Gemara, b'de'ik zachar, b'hada. Over there, Rav Mari was speaking about a case that there's a rooster. So therefore we rely on the fact that it was fertilized from a rooster. Fragt the Gemara, but b'de'ik zachar nami, eime me'ara safna. Fine, there's a rooster there. It's possible that it got fertilized from the rooster. But it's also possible that it got heated up from the ground. And you inspected the chicken coop before yomtiv. You didn't see any egg over there. So why should you think that it was born by day? Maybe say that it got heated from the ground. Amar Ravina, so Ravina answers, Gemiri, we know a fact that kol heiche de ikke zachar, anytime the chicken has a rooster with it, leisafna meyara. It does not heat itself up from the ground and develop an egg that way. The eggs that the chicken lays comes from the rooster that fertilized it. Va'at kama. So the Gemara says, now this is very important to know, because you want to try to figure out if this egg was born before yomtiv or not. So how far does this rooster have to be that we know for a fact that it got fertilized from the rooster? Amar Rav Gamde, Mishmei de Rav. So Rav Gamde said in the name of Rav, or others are greatest over here, Rave, Kol heiche de shamei kole biyamama. As long as this rooster is close enough to the chicken that you can hear it's the sound that the chicken makes, or the rooster makes, daytime, which is a closer distance than nighttime. It's not so easy by day to hear like by night. So if it's close enough that you can hear the sound of this rooster daytime, so then you know that the chicken got fertilized from this rooster. And the Gemara brings, Ovid Rav Mari Uvda. Rav Mari did this way, he paskened this way in a situation that he had, as Rashi brings, that he came out of Yomtiv and he didn't find any eggs there. And then in the morning, before Aleis HaShachar, he found eggs and he relied on the fact that there was a Zachar there. For how far? Ad Shitten Bati. When this Zachar was 60 houses away, but he relied on the fact that this chicken got fertilized from the Zachar and therefore it must have been born by day. And now the Gemara says, another few details of when you could rely that it got fertilized from the rooster. If there's a river there, the rooster will not cross the river. So then you know that it did not get fertilized from the Zachar. But if there's a bridge going across the river, the rooster comes across the bridge. If you don't have a proper bridge, but you have a rope with a little board that goes across, lo yavra. It is not, the rooster will usually not cross over this board. Hava ovde, but the Gemara says there was once a case, va'avra metzra, that a rooster did come across this board, but usually we don't rely on that. Okay, now the Gemara goes back to the statement that we said before in the name of Rav Mari, in the name of, Rav Yosi ben Shal, that is. Rav Yosi ben Shal said in the name of Rav that when you inspected a chicken coop before yomtov and you didn't find any eggs there, and then the next morning you find eggs over there, it's going to be usr. Why? Because we're talking about a place where there's no roosters, so it could have given birth at night. So the Gemara asks the question, B'maya kimta. So what did we explain before? B'desaf na me'ara. That it's possible that I got heated up from the ground, so it gave birth any time at night. If so, my irya badak. So why are we saying that only because you inspected it the day before, therefore we know that it gave birth at night? Kilay badak nami. Even if you didn't inspect it the day before, shouldn't there be a suffix here? It's a suffix when it was born. You found it in the morning. So it's very possible that it was born during the night. So it shouldn't be allowed to be eaten either way. So why does it say dafki? Because you inspected it and you know for sure that it wasn't born before. And for the Gemara, kiloi badak me'esmoil. Kiloi badak. If you did not go and inspect it from the day before, eime me'esmol avoy. Then I will say that it probably was born from before yomtiv. And Rashi here says the reason is because roiv chickens give birth by day. So if you did not inspect your chicken coop before yomtiv and you discover eggs there on the yomtiv in the morning, we're not going to assume that it was born at night. We're going to go after the roiv and we're going to assume that it was born the day before. Taisvis, the Rishayim over here discuss how we suddenly relying on roiv. Don't we have the cloud that the Gemara said before that a davar sheyesh lo matirin, we don't rely on roiv. And the question is about this egg. And after yomtiv, it's going to be mutter. So why are we relying on roiv? So the Ran says an important klal, this that by a davar sheyesh lo matirin, we don't rely on roiv, is only in a case of ischazak isura. When you have something that is a chazaka of an isser, then you can't be matir it. Over here, there's no chazaka of any isser. You discover this egg and you don't know what it is. It's a suffix. There's a suffix. There is no chazaka of any isser. In such a case, even by a davar sheyesh lo matirin, you rely on roiv, that if you did not inspect it, roiv eggs were born by day and therefore you could eat it. Fragt the Gemara, if so, kibadak nami, even if you did inspect it, why don't you rely on the following? Yatzasa ruba, why don't you say that most of the egg came out of the chicken, v'chazra, and then it returned back into the body of the chicken, v'chazra, it went back in. Right, so if you're saying that you're relying on this roiv are born by day, so even if you inspected it and you didn't find it there, why don't we rely that mistama it was born from before? As we quoted before, like Rabbi Yochanan said, that this is possible. So the Gemara answers that Rabbi Yochanan lo shchiach. Yes, that is possible, but it's actually not common. Usually when a chicken lays the egg comes out. It's not common that it should come out roiv and then it should go back into the body. Fragt the Gemara, v'amar Rabbi Yosi. Sorry, that's the conclusion of the inyan. Atkan. So therefore the Gemara concludes that over here, when you're talking about this chicken that has no rooster around, we don't rely on this happening, like Rabbi Yochanan said, that roiv comes out. Rashi over here adds, however, that this is all in a case when you don't have the rooster around. But if in a case where you do have a rooster around, so then it only gives birth by day. And therefore, you will rely on Rabbi Yochanan, even if you inspected the chicken coop and you did not find any eggs over there, and you're wondering, what happened? All of a sudden in the morning I found an egg. It was not born at night. What happened probably is, like Rabbi Yochanan, that most of the egg came out and it went back in. Because over there we have a chazaka, we know for sure that it's only born by day. The Gemara brings another statement in the name of the same Tana, it's a different subject. V'amar Rabbi Yosi, the same Amayra. V'amar Rabbi Yosi ben Shal Omar Rav, Hai Tuma Shchike. If you have crushed garlic and you left it exposed overnight, sakanta legeluya. There's a suffix that this is exposed and the snake could have came and ate from it and he left his venom in it and you're not allowed to eat it. Let's go another piece of the Gemara here on the Mishnah. So it said in the Mishnah, Beis Shamai oimrim se'ir bekezayis. Beis Shamai said there's a difference in the shiur between se'ir and chametz. The se'ir is a kezayis and the chametz is a kekaisvis, is the size of a date. What's the source of Beis Shamai's opinion? Because he says as follows: If they have the same shiur, why doesn't the Torah just write the Isser for chametz, which is not as strong, as potent of a chametz as sa'ir? Sa'ir is a leavening agent. Sa'ir is much stronger, so you don't have to write sa'ir. And I would say, Uma chametz she'ein chimutze kosher. If chametz where the leavening, the chametz of it is not so strong, The kizayis, the shear is a kizayis, se'or, shechimutze kasha, the se'or which the chametz of it is much stronger to degree, like kol shekain, for sure it should be asa. So why does the Torah have to write both? Se'or, the kasa rachmana lamali, why does the Torah have to write chametz and se'or? Answer is, lay malachat to teach you, shiur shel zeh, like shiur shel zeh. The shear of the isser for se'or and the shear of the isser of chametz is not the same. Se'or is a kazayis, even less, because it's a stronger chametz. And by chametz, it's only with a kakaisvis, by the size of a date. Rashi says, what's is the size of a date? Because that's what you find by on Gemara and Yuma, benegay to eating on Yom Kippur. If you break your fast, when does it calm the person down? A kakaisvis, the size of a date. Or Rashi says, maybe it's just a halacha l'moshe misinai, just like all the other shiurim. This is the pshat and the opinion of Beis Shamai. Well, Beis Hillel tell you, no, this is not a question, b'chlal. Tzrichi, the Torah has to write se'or and chametz. Because of Rachmana se'or, if the Torah would say just se'or, have a minimum shum the chimutze kasha. I would say se'or is a stronger level of chametz. Av chametz, the ain't chimutze kasha, but chametz, that the chametz is not as strong. Ein meloi, I would say that it's not asa. So therefore, we know why the Torah has to write chametz. So therefore, tzriche, Torah has to write chametz. On the other hand, v'i kasa rachmana chametz, if the Torah would write only chametz, then I would say, mishum deroi la'achila. You know why chametz is worse? Because chametz is edible. That's why the Torah says you shouldn't have it. It's the chametz of it is so strong that it's not even edible. So maybe I would say that here the issa doesn't apply. So tzricha, therefore the Torah had to write both. So the Gemara now asks on Beis Shamai's opinion. Beis Shamai less luhu the Rab Zera. Does Beis Shamai not hold of this point that Rab Zera said? Rab Zera said, look in the pasuk and you'll see that se'or and chametz is the same thing, because pasach hakasov b'se'or, the Torah begins with se'or v'siyim b'chametz, and it concludes with chametz. As the pasuk here that's quoted, you have it on the side of the Gemara, shiva siyamim se'or lo yamatze b'vateichen ki chol oichel machmetzes v'nichasa. So it starts with chametz, with se'or that is, and it concludes with chametz. It's loy malacha, it's coming to tell you, zeo se'or, zeo chametz. The shear of se'or and chametz is the same thing. So how could Beis Shamai argue with this? You see clearly in the pasuk that it's the same thing. So the Gemara answers, you're right, le'inyan achile, that pasuk which is talking about the issur of eating chametz. So when it comes to eating, kulal malei pligi, nobody argues that the shear is a kazayas. Ki pligi, when was the machlekes of Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel? Le'inyan beer. When it comes to burning, to getting rid of the chametz. In other words, the issur of bal yirah, bal yamatzah. That's where they argued what the shear is. Beis Shamai's opinion is, lo yalfinam beer ma'achila. I don't compare the issur of bal yirah to get rid of the chametz to the issur of eating chametz. Even though by eating, se'or and chametz are the same thing, but by burning it, there's a different shear. Beis Hillel holds yalfinan beer ma'achila. Once I see that the Torah says regarding achila that they're both the same, I compare beer as well, that the issur bal yirah for se'or and chametz is the same. The Gemara brings a source for this. Itmen nami amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina machlekes le'inyan beer. The machlekes of Beis Shamai and Beis Hillel was only regarding getting rid of the chametz. Aval le'inyan achila, when it comes to eating chametz, zivri akayil, everybody agrees. Zev zeh bekazayis, that the shear is a kazayis. Tanya nami hachi, we learned this in a Beitza as well. V'lo yirah lecha se'or, v'lo yirah lecha chametz. Or the Gersa switched around, first chametz and then se'or. Zeo machlekes shebein Beis Shamai or Beis Hillel. This is the machlekes regarding the issur of bal yirah. Beis Shamai yoimrim se'or b'kazayis. Beis Shamai say that the shear is a kazayis for se'or, and the chametz b'kaiseves. And by chametz the shear is like a date. Beis Hillel yoimrim zev zev b'kazayis. Beis Hillel says that the shear for both of them is a kazayis. So here you see in the Beitza that their machlekes was specifically regarding the issur of bal yirah bal yamatzah, not benegeh to the eating of chametz.